So you have lived abroad for several years. Uh, is there another side to living abroad that people don't see, especially when they're exploring the prospect of moving?
Um, I think choosing the right country is important. I've had an opportunity to build my career across multiple continents. I've seen a lot of Europe. I've seen a lot of North America and Asia, of course, with primarily my experience for the last decade plus being in India. Um, I think there's a number of things you have to consider. So when you look at the opportunity, you're not just looking at the scope of the role. You're looking at the company and what the company stands for. You're looking at the role itself, what the day-to-day responsibilities will be, what kind of a career roadmap will this role allow you to build. You're also looking at the salary and the perks and the benefits and all of the quantifiable factors. And then lastly, you are also looking at the culture of the country, not just the company, but also the culture of the country. So, if you look at Europe, English is the primary language of business. But if you look at some of the other countries like Latin America, that's not the same, right? You need to be able to speak Spanish or Portuguese to have more mainstream growth in those areas. I'm not saying it's a complete dead end, but that would be very helpful. Again, if you look at the Gulf countries like Dubai or UAE in general, it's a very good blend of the East and the West. And the other advantage specifically there is that there are no income taxes at the personal level. So in India, we'll end up paying, the salaried professional, the middle class especially, we'll end up paying almost 35% of our income into taxes. If you make more than 5 lakh rupees a year, that's your tax bill. But in the UAE, regardless of what your income is, there are no income taxes. So, there are certain benefits. The time zone is very close to India. English, again, is widely spoken. You look at countries in North America like the United States or Canada. Canada is a very open to immigration country. They are promoting immigration. The total population of Canada is less than the populations of Delhi and Mumbai combined. It's a very pro-immigration country, country that's very polite, a country that is incredibly fair, very cold, but and it takes a certain wherewithal to be able to live in temperatures like that. The lack of sunlight, for an extended period of time, and all of those things play a role. But it's a wonderful place. I mean, in terms of natural beauty, it's amazing. The economy is doing well. Lots of opportunities in a multitude of fields. The United States immigration is much more difficult now. I spent a huge amount of time in the US, and I can tell you that the immigration process even then was quite cumbersome, but now it's even more difficult. That said, we have students who have generated offers there and successfully, immigrated with their entire families, to the United States. Singapore is a very popular destination, though I personally feel that it is past its prime. And Singapore is expensive. It's quite expensive to base yourself there and live there. So that salary number has to be right. The standard of living, how much money you can save, all of that has to be right. Australia and New Zealand, wonderful places to go to. Until a little while ago in Australia, there had been some discrimination against Indians, but I think in the last half decade or so, all of that has been put to rest. In fact, they are very welcoming. Indians largely are very welcome all over the world. And I think it has a lot to do with how India has been able to raise its image on the global stage. You look at so many different metrics. We are the fastest growing economy. Renewable energy is progressing. Our employment rates are some of the most advanced in the world. We take part in fields that are phenomenal. From the IT sector, again, where we are very dominant, to telecommunications, to pharmaceuticals and healthcare. There are so many advantages that India brings to the table, and that has really helped India raise its image. So, you have to look at all of these other factors. You have to look at what is the native language? Will you be able to, do business in that language? Like, for example, we've had students go to Japan, but it's not an easy transition because you have to speak Japanese. Now, that's one country where, the local language is the mainstream language. Japanese is not easy to learn. It's conversationally, there are multiple levels. Written Japanese is yet harder. The immigration process itself, how friendly or how open is the nation to immigrants? How are immigrants treated? The weather is another factor you would look at. Food, culture, value systems. Because, if you spend an extended amount of time abroad and you come back, I can tell you, you're going to experience culture shock in reverse. The India that you leave and the India that you come back to will be two entirely different Indias.